Hello, my name is Decimal, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this jam. I'll play a clip. Basically, it's using the Nymphes synthesizer with the Midihub and a Keystep. I also have a pedal that's running effects. And the star of this jam, I guess you can say, is this robot arm. And I'm just basically going to break down every element and explain how this jam came to be. But before we get started, I need to home the robot arm. And unfortunately, I can't home it in position because it will probably hit something. So I'm just gonna grab it and just kind of hang it off this table and then press the homing function, which is gonna pretty much reset the position to where I can start actually programming it. So you always need to home the arm before you use it. So let's run the homing routine. So let's press home. All right, so now since it's homed, I can start sending code to the robot arm. So in this jam, the robot arm has a few selection of notes that it can play using code. So I have a piece of Python code here that is going to essentially align the robot arm. So hopefully another piece of code that I wrote will function properly. So basically what it's gonna do is gonna go to a position, and the goal is to get this pen to hit this X that is right here. You probably noticed it in the video, but this is here for a purpose, is to line up the robot arm. So I'm gonna run the routine right now. So that was pretty spot on. I think I need to maybe adjust it a little bit. Let's give it another go. I think that was great. So I think the robot arm is now lined up. So I can bring up some code here that will be able to essentially bring the robot arm to a random key. Not every key is programmed. I have 4 keys programmed. So yeah, and what happens is after it presses a key, the note will go to the Midihub. And the Midihub is kind of key for this jam, so no pun intended, but let me just press it right now so you guys can listen to it. So there's a lot of stuff happening once the key is pressed. And this is the routing I have for the Midihub. It's basically going to take in a note. It's going to randomize it between 2 octaves up and 2 octaves down from the original note. I actually thought the 2 octaves up were a bit too high in the jam, but I think it gives a lot of variation. So maybe for this example, I'm going to switch this to 1 so we don't get really that high pitch zone. Yeah, I think that's probably a good call. I wish I would have done this before for the jam, but that is life. And then after the note is randomized between 2 octaves up and 2 octaves down, it is harmonized. So the harmonize will basically take the 1 note and change it to a chord. So instead of it playing just 1 note, it will also play an interval up by 4 and interval up by 6. So basically it goes boom, and then it plays another note 4, another note by 6. So you get a chord essentially. Since the notes are going to be sort of randomly just progressed and will be in random intervals because of this initial like randomizer that just puts it into another octave, I have a scale remapper. So basically it will put it into a scale, and I could set notes here. Basically this makes things sound really dope. Like I can even change this. So if I were to put it to, like, let's change it to an A, you can take a listen. So I can change this. Let's change it to F. Let's change it to an F sharp. So yeah, you can get variation. The scale remapper is just such a dream. And another thing I'm doing is I'm changing the length. So the gate is 200, and it says here that, I can actually just bring this over. It says here when the gate is 200, it doubles the length, but then I put the length at, is it 10,000 milliseconds? So it's just extending the note as well. And you got to remember, this Nymphs has 6 voices, so every note is playing 3 voices. But then if I press another note, it's going to play another 3 voices. So yeah, this pretty much covers how the notes work and the synthesizer, but let's talk about the actual robot arm. So this is the code for the robot arm. I'll run through it really quick, but the code's kind of boring to talk about on camera. So basically, this here will repeat the cycle a certain amount of times. So right now I just have it 3 times. I have a random range for hold. So basically how long does the robot arm actually stay on the note is randomized. And then the actual note that it presses is randomized as well every cycle. And then over here I have, if the note is 1, play this here. If the note is 2, play this here. So I basically have, and the labeling for the keys aren't accurate to the keyboard. It was just the best way for my mind to think of it, because actually I think 14 is actually 13, but whatever. So yeah, let's run the code, see if it works. It's going to go to the 0 position, then it's going to press down, okay, one of the keys, hold it, and then it's going to go up at some point, and then, so there's 3 cycles, so it just went to the same key. It happens sometime. It randomizes between 4 notes. I'm going to lift up, and that's it. So I guess when it says it repeats 3 times, it actually repeats twice. So why don't we change this to 6? So now it should run 5 times. 0 position, presses down on this first note. Oh yeah, and then after this whole thing runs, there's a small delay. Okay, so when sometimes, I don't know what note it wanted to press, but there are times where the arm will misfire and it won't press a note. It actually happens in the jam once or twice, but let's try this again. Okay, I think it got misaligned, but it's working so far, I guess. Yeah, so sometimes, I don't know why the notes don't press. It could be I think it wanted to press this one, but instead hit that one. Yeah, my alignment is completely off right now. See, it's supposed to hit that X there, so maybe I should. Yeah, that shouldn't be happening. It's a little slippy, slidey. I'm gonna probably just align the bot with this code here. This is my lineup code. Oh, that's way off. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, that looks pretty good. All right, so now this is my code that I use. I talked about it already. That I use to line up the robot arm. Okay, now let's try it. Okay, that's much better. I might actually do something in the future where I put maybe something rubber at the tip of the marker, so it doesn't get sliding too much on the keys. As you can see, now it's trying to press 2 keys down, and it didn't trigger any of them. So I think that maybe having a sort of, see, it went down and it didn't trigger, so I think it might actually need a little bit more force downwards. And that missed completely. This is just a total mess. Yeah, so in this case, I would have to go through each key to see what's happening. I mean, that one worked. Let's see. Yeah, that didn't trigger. It needs a little bit more force down. And that just missed completely. I mean, the whole thing about using robotics is there's a lot of trial and error, and you got to figure out every jam that I set up is usually has to deal with some programming. But yeah, I thought this might be an interesting video to make to kind of explain how this whole thing worked. I hope you guys found this interesting. This is the first time I've sort of explained how this system works, and if you guys are interested in like the future of what I have in store, I'm thinking about possibly exploring like more generative ideas using robotics and other stuff like that. Generative music is also something I'm really interested in, but generative music using MIDI. I know a lot of people like to do generative music using Eurorack and stuff like that, but I'm going to be focused on more connecting devices and using MIDI in certain ways, and the Midihub is going to be the star of that show. So yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys. If you have any more questions about how I did this, please leave it in the comments down below. I'll do my best to address it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a bit of a different video than I usually do, but I think it's interesting to do. So thank you for watching, and peace out.